this could be time for your sporting analogy that we were discussing before the film here. But talk that through, because I think it's a really good way of, neat way of explaining what you're saying.
So I'm a football fan. And I won't say which team I support, not to alienate different parts of the country. But the way, if I had one wish for the construction sector, it would be to start acting, businesses to start acting almost like academies. So even though you have someone that is doing the job at the moment, that is skilled, trained, and very efficient in that role, you need to think about the next person coming through. And the analogy that we spoke about was at Chelsea, you've got Cole Palmer right now, who's scoring 20 goals per season. He's a very young person doing that job, would possibly doing that job for the next 10, 15 years. So Chelsea could actually look at it from the point of view that they don't need to think about finding a number 10 anymore, a creative midfielder anymore, because they've got one for the next 10 or 15 years. But Chelsea are still very much active in that space of attracting 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds into their business to ensure they've got sustainability in that skill set that they need. I think construction businesses need to start thinking along those lines. So even though you've got a skilled person doing that job at the moment, where is the pipeline of talent coming through to ensure that you can continue to do that work for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I like that. I think it's really good. I think it's also, we can tie in some of the earlier conversation, that it doesn't mean that's just an expense, because there's lots of funding that can support that, because obviously Chelsea might have a little bit more money than the average SME in Suffolk, but it's not about just the money, is it? Yeah. Because there is so much funding available.
There is.
There's obviously a lot of focus on how you bring the people into the businesses, which is obviously incredibly important. But one of the most important things is let's get the businesses themselves doing work, which therefore increases the need for people, which therefore then means the colleges and CITB and all the boot camp leaders are all really employed and engaged, because you're having to create that pipeline. So, a lot of our work as a Chamber of Commerce for years has been in this area, but particularly obviously heightened because of Sizewell C, because it is a bit of a mega project in that regard. But it is about how do we maximise an opportunity for local and regional businesses? Fundamentally, strip it all back. Because if they're going to build Sizewell C, they're going to need lots and lots of people, many hundreds and hundreds of businesses to work on there. Now, businesses from across the world want to work on Sizewell C. Let's be very clear. And businesses from across the world will work on Sizewell C. But there's a proportion of that has been said can be won locally. So, okay, let's make sure we do that. How do we do that? We need to get businesses ready. We need to get them supported. We need to make them aware of what's happening. That's our job. Fundamentally, that's what we do. It's about educating these large projects. We'll use Sizewell now, but it could be anything. And say, where's your commitment to local? You're going to come, take the energy sector in particular, you're going to come into this region. You're going to do a lot of stuff. You're going to maybe cause a little bit of upset in certain areas with regards to traffic or whatever it may be. How can we maximise that benefit locally? You were talking about accommodation earlier, for example. How can you restrict the need to build so much accommodation for all these? Best way, use a local firm. How can you restrict your net zero, your carbon emissions for building whatever it is you're going to build? Use a local firm. How can you engage most with colleges and apprentices? Local firms are already doing it. So very much our role is around, started with Sizewell, now across everything that is happening in Suffolk and more broadly across the region on these larger projects and also, sizable opportunities to help educate businesses. And that, like I said, that we've done a lot of work with the US Air Force, we've done a lot of work with Associated British Ports and others, that it's very much about what do you need? How do we get businesses? Because everyone wants to use local. They want that circular economy. Yeah. So the role we play within that as a Chamber of Commerce is very much that let's help you understand what's needed, help those businesses who need local firms, little SMEs, whatever it may be, and that hand-holding that can happen so that ultimately raise that tide and improve that standard of business across this part of the world. Because then what you get to is we're an exportable commodity. Yeah. Suddenly, our businesses are not just small SMEs, they may be decent sized SMEs, but are not just having to work in Suffolk through word of mouth. Yeah. All of a sudden, whether it's the energy sector or not, they're travelling, they're going employing, they're growing, they're investing in other parts of the country. Fantastic.